Welcome to the first episode of Comedy for Life, the podcast. I'm Walt Frazier, and we are just going to dive right in talking about my books, my 22 plus years in the comedy business, and I want to help you become comics, actors, singers, dancers, but even more, learn how to use comedy to make your life better. Let's talk about getting stage time. You need stage time. You want to be a comic, you need stage time. Let's start with the open mic. Every comic starts at an open mic, not just comics, musicians, singers, guitar players, piano singers. A lot of bands do open mics, musical open mics, right? Open mics are a chance for you to get on stage time, to share your truth, to share your art, and figure out what works and doesn't work. 90% of becoming an artist, I think, is figuring out what it's not. You got to figure out what comedy isn't. You got to figure out what acting isn't. You got to figure out what singing isn't. We watch movies, we watch comedians, and we say, oh, I could do that. And you probably could. And then here's a secret, and a lot of artists hate it when I say this. Anybody could do what I do. Anybody. Very, very few people end up doing what I do. But anybody could do what I do. They just don't realize what it takes at the beginning and middle and end. Every comic you've ever seen on TV has probably been in the clubs for 5 to 10 years doing comedy. With rare exception, they were in that club every day for a year or two, hustling for stage time, going to mics, bringer shows, barker shows, getting on stage every chance they got. And within the first year or so, they started doing paid jobs. And then somebody found them, put them on Last Comic Standing or one of those type shows, America's Got Talent. They got on, they broke through, or they started doing college shows, corporate events, right? But it all starts usually with the open mic. You need to get on stage. A comedy class, a stand-up comedy class is basically an expensive open mic with feedback. There are some open mics out there that are like a class. You go and the person running the mic will give you a couple seconds of feedback. They'll say, that was good. This is better, blah, 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 right? But I'm going to give you a little secret to doing an open mic. And I'm going to talk a lot about this in the next 3 or 4 episodes. What to do every time you get on stage. But it starts with the open mic. You should do this even if you're 20 years into the business. I still do this today. Every time you're about to get on stage, prepare. At the beginning, that's not writing. That's not always doing a whole bunch of stuff, but mentally getting yourself ready to perform. Brainstorming a list, outlining your material, doing a show order for an improv show, like what games are we going to play if you're doing a short form improv show. If you're acting in a play, in a musical, going through your cues, you stretch out physically, but you prepare to get on stage. And then you get on stage and you do my number one rule in life. Just have fun. Especially when you're doing stand-up comedy, get up there and have fun. Ignore the ego, ignore the insecurity, ignore the fear, ignore the oh my gosh, celebrating ego stuff is just as bad because you're just overcompensating. You're not truly in the game, right? Just talk. Just have fun. It's a one-on-one conversation with the people on the other side of the microphone. It's no different than you sitting down at Starbucks or some other coffee place with your buddy and just chatting. You just don't want them to talk back most of the time, right? Don't ask them real questions. We'll go into that another time. But just get up there, have fun. And then when you get off stage, that's when the real work happens, right? You analyze the work. And the next 3 or 4 episodes, we'll talk about what that means at each step with a new routine. But if you want to be a stand-up comic or you want to start doing stand-up comic, I don't even care I hope none of you really want to be a stand-up comic because I'll tell you, it's not an easy business. It's almost easier to create the comedy than it is to survive this business. It's not terrible. It's not as bad as people say, but I was joking with a client yesterday. I was at a corporate team building. This dude was funny. This guy was funny. I said, dude, when you're ready to give up the security of a paycheck and your benefits, you should go do comedy, right? And I was only half kidding. He was funny. He could probably be a comedian, but he's making really good money. He's like working for a really good company. I won't tell you what company I was working with yesterday. I do a lot of corporate team building, but he should not quit his job and become a comedian. unless he's got a nest egg and ready to retire, because that's, some guys do that, right? Some professionals out there, they quit Wall Street, they have a nest egg, they've made their money, now they can afford to be a comedian and not live in their parents' basement. So, right? But get out there, get on stage. Now, the bringer show. I don't love bringer shows. I don't love them. But here's the thing. Bringer shows are a powerful tool for a comic to get stage time. In many ways, you could turn an open mic into a bringer show. Get 5 or 6 friends together and say, hey, we're going to invite all of our friends and do a show once a month over at this coffee shop, this bar, this comedy club. We got stage time. Invite our friends. Let's fill the room. At the venue is having people in there eating and drinking. They're going to let us do our thing for 5-10 minutes, right? And 5 to 10 of you can get up, or maybe 3 or 4 of you organize it and you invite some other comics on Facebook or whatnot, right? And you just get up on stage. But a bringer show is basically everybody in the audience is probably a friend or family member or a coworker. And if you've ever worked in New York City, I don't know anybody who has worked in New York City has never had somebody that works with them say, hey, I'm doing a show at 7 o'clock tonight. Why don't you guys come on over after work? Because there are wannabe comics out there everywhere, or even just people that are doing it for fun, right? It's like instead of doing community theater, they're doing stand-up comedy. Come see me perform. I'm doing a show tonight, right? And so you pack the place at the early show. You know, maybe the Gotham Comedy Club has a big show at 9 o'clock with a big headliner. At 7 o'clock, it's a bunch of people that just want to get up on stage and they have to bring their friends, and it's new comics hour, whatever it is, right? Then you got the Barker Show. I love a Barker Show. And a lot of people hate the Barker Show. I did work on Crashing for HBO, and they made fun of Barker shows, right? P. Holmes, the old Boston Comedy Club, making fun of barking shows. People hate going out on the street saying, please, please, I'm begging you, come see me perform. But here's the thing. It's a great way to get stage time. It's a great way to create stage time for yourself. I'll talk about producing in a moment. I did a show at the Boston Comedy Club with my buddy PJ Landers, March 2003. In fact, I just ran into PJ at his new comedy club, the Comedy Village on 44th Street. And I was reminiscing with him, and I said, in many ways, that night did so much for me. I barked in 20 people. I learned I don't like doing other people's barking shows. Nothing personal against him. I don't like doing other people's shows. I learned I could bark in 20 people. A week later, I was producing my own show and making money as a comic because I was producing, and I'll get into that in a second, right? But a lot of people can get 2 people in, 3 people in, 4 people in. You get a couple of people in, and let's say all 10 comics on the show do that, and all of a sudden you got 20, 30, 40 people in the audience, and it's a real audience. Now it's not other comics, it's not friends and family, it's complete strangers that will be very, very honest about your comedy. And that's what we need to develop our routines. It doesn't do us any good when people are being very supportive. It's good for our feelings, but we can't get an honest opinion that, hey, when I go to audition for the people at the network, when I want to do Colbert, Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, when I want to go audition for Saturday Night Live, when I want to create my own show and put it up on Netflix, is it going to be good? Right? We have a very horrible idea of who we are, right? It's usually inflated or deflated. It's rarely honest, right? And we'll talk about that over coming podcast episodes, because that's a big part of what I do and why I do comedy in the corporate world in schools. Learning how to be a little more honest about who we are, not having an ego, not being insecure, just saying, hey, this is what I can do. This is what I need to learn as a leader. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Let me surround myself with things I can't do so I can be a better leader, because I'm really good at this, but I'm not good at this. So I'm going to hire somebody who's good at this. So as a team, we're amazing at everything, right? I'll get back to that in future episodes. My Improv for Business Success book is available on Amazon, right? And I do corporate team building all the time. We'll talk about that. But open mics, bringer shows, Barker shows. At the beginning, that's how you're going to get on stage. And every time, even at a Barker show, Even in a bringer show, you're out on the street, you're begging your friends, right before you get on, take a minute, like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and this. And then, hey, guys, just have fun. We're having fun. And then you get off stage, go right back to your journal, go right back to your notes. What worked? What didn't work? This I will never do again. This I will never do again that way. I need to fix it or kill it. This killed. I need to do that again tomorrow, exactly the way I just did it, right? And it becomes a very simple process. It is the opposite of rocket science. In science, you have a hypothesis, and then you prove it or disprove it, and then you have a conclusion. This is trial and error. This is throwing you-know-what at the wall, at the fan, what sticks, what doesn't. Is it good? Does it work? And then the next day, don't beat yourself up. Again, very objectively, did it work or didn't it work? And if it didn't work, change it. If it worked, do it again. And the real key to success is really as simple as repeat your successes, learn from your mistakes. Don't beat yourself up and don't get too impressed with what you do, right? Because neither one, the ego and the insecurity, will equally destroy your creativity, your ability to network, your ability to process and get better. So, open mics, bringers, barkers. Next step. I did this early on, and I skipped a lot of steps as a comedian because I did this. Now, I was a very experienced actor when I started comedy. I had done Broadway tours. I had done regional theater. I'd sung opera and theater and done plays and musicals in Italy, in Canada, all over America. So when I went into comedy, I had a lot of experience on stage. I knew what I was doing on stage. Not as a comedian yet, but I knew basically what to do on stage. I had a presence, right? And I was able to bark. Again, working with PJ Lander's show, March of 2003, I learned I could get an audience. So I started producing my own shows, creating my own stage time, creating my own work through stand-up comedy, through improv comedy, sketch comedy, more sketch comedy at the beginning, eventually more improv comedy. But I started out doing stand-up comedy and sketch comedy and moved into improv over time. And I'll talk about why over time in these podcasts. But just created. But you need the stage time. Producing, what producing does, one, you get control over that stage. As soon as, even if you're producing an open mic, once you have an open mic, you have 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours somewhere, even an hour somewhere, that you can get up for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you can either collect money from other people or not. You have something called stage time to give away. There's this thing in comedy called trading spots. You don't want to pay $5 to do comedy? Produce a show, and then call your buddy that does a show on Tuesday. You have a show on Monday. Call your buddy that does a show on Tuesday and say, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes if you give me 5 minutes, and you trade spots. And now you got 2 spots a week for free. And if you're charging to do your show from other people, you might be making a couple bucks. Start producing a bringer show. Produce a barker show. Get a comedy club to give you 2 hours on a Tuesday at 7 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, right? Depending where you are. Sunday at 2 o'clock. And go in the corner, go on internet, go all over town, put up flyers, say, come see my show, come see my show. $5, $10. That week after I did that show at the Boston Comedy Club, I produced my first show and made about $100 cash. Don't tell the IRS. Maybe I'll edit that out. Right? Over time, over the course of 2 years, I learned how to fill an audience. And not by myself. I got to give my wife a lot of credit. We were barking in Times Square in 2005. It was my wife's idea to start selling tickets in Times Square because that's what a lot of other clubs were doing at that point. We started selling tickets, and there were 3 of us that were really good at it. And all of a sudden, we're making hundreds of dollars a week doing comedy, to the point where we realized we're making more money now doing comedy any given day than we are waiting tables, selling shoes, or whatever else we're doing. And we just started adding shows. And like we got to the point where every time we did a show, we could bring in 30, 40, 50, 90, 100 people just going out as a team for 2 or 3 hours into Times Square. Come on over, I got a show. Come on over, I got a show. Come on over, I got a show. There's 10 of you, $5 each. 2 of you, $20, right? Whatever it is, give me cash, come over, do a show. I'll do a deal. There were 30 ladies from Mary Kay, the Pink Hat ladies, I think they are, right? They were a team that all had Cadillacs. They were all top Mary Kay, I think it was Mary Kay, and they're coming down 7th Avenue one day, and I was like, hey, I got a comedy show. I said, listen, I'll give you all 30 tickets for $100. Come on over. And it was one of the most fun shows I've done. That was 20 years ago now. That was 2005. And they were hilarious. They were absolutely amazing. Now, Times Square and a couple places in LA, it's way easy. If you get a room, they're more expensive a lot of times. There's more bar minimums. There's more required to have those rooms. But you can get those audiences. If you don't want that pressure, get a coffee house in the burbs and get 10 people in there in an off hour and do a show, right? It's more about the stage time at that point. Eventually, you want to start making money. But at the beginning, it's more about that stage time. If you're still in school, if you're a student at a high school, at an elementary school, you're 5th grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, you want to be a comic when you grow up, you're in college, here's a little secret. Learn to produce while you're in school. Now, one, the room is free. Somebody's paying for it. Your parents' taxes, my taxes. We're paying for that space. But for you, up until you leave school, you have access to a lot of free stuff. And way too many kids waste it. I hate it. They're on their phones. They're doing this stuff. Hey, I'm on my phone too. I'm not judging you that. But I'm saying don't waste what you have, a free resource that you have right now that you can just go out there and start a little club after school, before school, at lunch, study hall. Maybe you don't have enough people that want to do comedy. Maybe you can find some singers. There's always somebody who plays guitar that's writing some songs. Even when I was in 4th grade, there were people out there starting to become budding musicians. Like we were in band. I was playing trumpet, and we're doing hot cross buns. But there were a couple people out there like starting to write some songs. The poets. Anybody that wants to get up for 5-10 minutes and do what they created, or put on a hit play on a song and sing their favorite Broadway song with a tape, their favorite pop song, their favorite rap. Let them do whatever, right? Just get a bunch of friends together and do it. And then put a show together. Put a show up. Talk to your principal, talk to your advisor, talk to your guidance. Get a teacher to sponsor it. Don't waste that resource. I love doing workshops in schools and saying, the 5 of you should start a troupe. In fact, I was doing a comedy class in a Queens high school in 2009, 2010, 2011. And in the course of that class, 4 weeks in, I had a teacher come up to me and says, oh my gosh, your students were hilarious today. Like, we didn't have a show. They were so inspired by the first couple classes that we did, they created their own show. 5 friends got together and just created their own show. One of those 5 ended up working for me. Brandon, amazing talent. He's got some different name now, and he changes every 3 or 4 years because he's out there doing R&B and hip hop or whatnot. And I can't keep up with Brandon Ford, amazing talent. I'm jealous. I'm sad he moved out of New York because I would give him work all the time. One of the funniest guys, nicest guys I ever met, right? But he and his buddies just started doing stuff. And they did a show at a fashion show at the school. That's what I'm talking about. Go create your own opportunity, and you get to skip the line. Eventually, after doing the open mics, the bringer shows, the Barker shows, the producing of your own shows, eventually somebody comes around and says, hey, I'm willing just to pay you to show up. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, but even better, go down below, click on my mailing list link, join my mailing list today, get 2 free tickets, or get your first class on me. We have classes in Times Square, I have drop-in classes whenever I have shows out and about, and I have Zoom classes on stand-up comedy, improv comedy. They're more like open mics. They're very inexpensive, but the first one's on me if you join the mailing list today.